you love ball like I do, After Dark's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fix.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
It's Tuesday, March 11th on Field of 68 After Dark, and we got action. We got teams going dancing. We got seasons coming to heartbreaking ends. And by the way, welcome officially, not that there was any doubt, but welcome officially to the NCAA Tournament. Gonzaga, you're in, and you beat St. Mary's finally for the first time this season. As you can tell, we got a four-man panel tonight. We got Jeff Goodman, we got Jerel McNeal, and a very special guest, Stanford Steve. Stanford Steve, what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Happy to be here. Pleasure to see you guys. Jerel, I was kidding on the text today, man. I still have nightmares of you in that Stanford game, bro. That was too bad, though, because I think Stanford's played 2 tournament games since then, but that was an absolute all-timer. It's a pleasure. Think the world of what you guys do. I try and listen as much as I can. I text Goodman, but I can tell when he's in a good mood or a bad mood, which is always a bad mood when I'm listening. So what you guys are doing and carrying on the love for the sport for all the fans out there is awesome. And it's a must listen for me when I'm coming home from work with Scott every night for sure.
We love you.
Yeah.
We love you. You know that. There are a few people. There aren't many people I miss. Eddie is no. I'm just kidding. There are a lot of people I miss. But you're at the top of the list. You're at the top of the list. I mean that. And for those that don't know, you are an absolute college hoops junkie. You and Van Pelt, you're sitting around before the show, and you have every college hoop game up.
Yep.
And the best times are when I was there with you guys watching Scott sweat out a Maryland game. Those are the best.
And we got some time off coming, so I'm so happy I don't have to watch the Big Ten tournament with him or the NCAA tournament. So it's like Christmas time around here. But I'm repping the Terps. I've been on them for since December. I thought their best was the best, was worthy of being the best team in the Big Ten. I still have high hopes for him, so I know he does too. But it's fun to see the big man excited as he is, because he is 100% in.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty of time to get to that and air any more grievances, Jeff, if that's what this is about with Stanford Steve tonight. We got time. And we're also going to catch up in just a little bit with, speaking of tickets getting punched, Rob Krimmel from St. Francis is going to join us. Was not a thing of beauty, but I know that he's not worried about how it looked, because a dub is a dub, and he's going to the NCAA tournament there from the NEC. So we will talk to him and catch up with him from St. Francis in just a moment. But Stanford Steve, man, you are the guest of honor. Let's start with you. Gonzaga finally does beat St. Mary's. I was listening to some broadcasts tonight, and it was interesting, sort of the analysis. It was almost like, which of the 2 teams would you rather be? Would you rather be the team that's won the 2 games, right, and has shown they can do it, or would you rather be the team that's lost and has this 3rd rubber match? Gonzaga got it done. So how big a statement do you think this is for Gonzaga going into the tournament?
Well, I just love it. I mean, I thought Farnham did a good job talking about the rivalry and how now it's the most played series in the sport with those 2 teams and how many times they've played. It feels like they end up playing 3 times every year. My biggest question is what you do with the seeding now with those 2 teams. Do you benefit? I mean, because Gonzaga gets a win, right? And St. Mary's resume is kind of light. There's a couple wins over power conference teams, but they're not tournament teams. And I said last night, if you flip the script, and I believe at ESPN, Lenardi had St. Mary's as a 6, and then Gonzaga was an 8. And I'm like, there's no doubt Gonzaga would be higher if they had the same resume as St. Mary's. So I think that's key. Gonzaga, if they play like this, they jump out, Battle's making shots, he's the difference maker for me. Point guard position is solid, and EK is great the last 2 nights, how physical he is. And I actually, what I love about them, and especially coming now into the tournament, they're phenomenal at the free throw line. And you don't see that a lot with the big men. But one guy shoots 93% and EK's up over 80. So they're dangerous. And as far as St. Mary's, incredible run. Interested to see their draw. I always feel like they get stuck with a rough draw, but they know that it's been so many years in a row. But where they are on the seed lines, that's what's interesting for me with the two teams from the West Coast Conference.
Hey, John, you know when I knew Gonzaga was going to win this one?
When
I saw the line this morning. When I saw that line this morning, I was like, there's no way Gonzaga loses. They're favored by 3.5. Yep. They've lost twice to them already this year. They want this one. This was a pride win for the Zags as much as anything, right? Everybody's been talking about St. Mary's all year. They've been hearing it. St. Mary's has run the league. And this is a Gonzaga team that started out so well. I remember after the first 2 weeks, Jerel, first 2 weeks, people were trying to say, I think people, by meaning people, I'm talking about Rob Doster, was trying to say that Gonzaga was worthy of like a top 3 team in America. And I'm like, settle down. Yes, they mollywopped Baylor, but like, we don't know how good Baylor is at that point. So I think both of these teams are good enough to win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure they're good enough to do more than that.
Yeah, I agree on that point. And obviously, I think we've grown a little bit accustomed to Rob jumping out the window early on in the year. But like you spoke to, Jeff, things kind of settled in, and obviously they've struggled. They had an up and down season, a little bit undifferent from most teams that we see with Mark Few. But I also think Steve hit it on the head. I think that the X factor for this team is battle. And he's the one guy, the advanced athlete that they have on the perimeter. That guy's like a runaway freight train in transition. He can get downhill whenever he wants to. He has great strength, really good balance getting to the rim. And, somebody's going to be really disappointed once those brackets come out and they see the Zags on their side or close to. It's not a game you're going to want early in the tournament. And they got really steady guard play with Nimhard. They got Ike inside. So if those guys can kind of figure it out and get it clicking and playing well at the same time, they're going to be a tough out still in tournament time. And on the other hand, St. Mary's has been great all year. Really tough, rugged, physical team. Marshallonis is an incredible guard as well too. I really like watching him play. I love guys that are, whether it be second generation or just guys that come from basketball families. Man, I feel like that type of stuff kind of oozes out of their games when you see them. Just always the IQ element, pace that they play with, and the reads and stuff that they make. They got a really good team. Obviously, their seeding is going to be lower than they would like to for the body of work that they have. But, at this time of year, you just kind of got to strap it on and be ready to go regardless of who it is.
By the way, Jeff, since you just knew that Gonzaga was going to win the game today, did you bet it? I mean, since you just saw the number and just knew.
John, I don't bet.
Okay. That's smart, actually. That's how you have such a beautiful backdrop, a backsplash behind you. That's because you don't bet.
When this stove is worth.
What do they call that? Shiplap. That's shiplap. That beautiful shiplap. Because you don't bet. Yeah. Steve, I think sometimes, man, like I think we all kind of fall guilty of this on some level. It's like we kind of let the predictives kind of dictate the sport. And Gonzaga was one of those teams where all year long, like even as they continued to sort of, lose these games, like you just look up, they're just top 10 still in every metric. So I guess I would ask you this way, is what they're doing in the tournament here and winning it and beating St. Mary's, are these things sort of starting to convene now, the predictives and what you're seeing on the court with this Gonzaga team?
Not with how high they are. I mean, what were they, 8? That's crazy. But, people that have, cooked the numbers on all this stuff, as long as you don't get blown out and all your losses are close, which Gonzaga's are, you're going to have great metrics. And that's my issue with them is, to me, you're in it so – I mean, look at them compared to Michigan. And how many, before this Michigan slide, they won all those close games. I give them the benefit of the doubt over Gonzaga, who lost a bunch of close games. A brutal loss early in the year at Kentucky, where they have 16-18 at the half. St. Mary's handles them twice. But for them to come back, and I believe Fewey's got he's going for 10 straight Sweet 16s. That's an accomplishment, man.
It really is amazing.
I don't care who you are. With what we have and the size of conferences now, at some point you're playing somebody excellent in the Sweet 16 or in the round of 32, and we're gonna have tons of those matchups again. But no, I think they're scary, man, because they mucked it tonight, and played St. Mary's style, but they jumped out. They got the double-digit lead, but they handled things. They have great guard play. They don't turn it over. Nebhard, with what he does and getting the ball to guys, and then Fewey flipping the lineup tonight and starting Huff over Step. He played great. He had 8 points right off the jump. Yeah. Then Step comes in and gets the monster dunk over Saxon. Like, Fewey played his cards right, and they still are scary to me because they have multiple guys that can put the ball in the basket. And late in the shot clock, Nebhard did it again tonight in some crucial spots when St. Mary's got back in the game. So, yeah, man, they're scared. I mean, they could be staring a one right in the face if they stay on that 8-9 line.
Yeah, I think that's where I would go next, Goodman, because, I mean, if you just look at the consensus, I know we've had them as an 8. The consensus was that they were an 8. But is this win and doing it on a neutral, is it enough to get them to 7?
I mean, do I look like a bracketologist?
No, but I mean, like, is it a win? I don't know. You don't bet. You don't make brackets. Does anybody know what Jeff does?
What do I do? I know. What the hell do I do? Obviously, I don't cook. I don't cook either. So I'm not sure what I do.
I need a list of the 5 things you did this week. Okay, email those to me immediately.
Yeah, I've eaten well. I've definitely eaten well. If you look at the scale, that would be number 1. I'm not. That might be number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. No,
I'm just saying, yes, if we accept that they're an 8, is that enough to jump them a seed line? I'm not asking you to give me your top 4.
Yeah, I think it could be depending on what happens. I mean, we are in for a big week this week.
Yeah.
So that certainly helped Gonzaga hopefully get there, but we don't know what some of these, the old misses of the world that are also, maybe on that 5-6 line, what they're going to do going into these tournaments. Mississippi State, they're probably behind them. What if they go on a run? There's so many moving parts over really the next, 3 or 4 days, right? Starting tomorrow, I'm headed to the SEC tournament tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, there's going to be so much movement Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, more so than anything else. So Gonzaga needed this one. I think not even for their seeding as much as they needed it for their confidence to show that, hey, we're still Gonzaga here. Like this shit still runs through us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Then Jerel, I'm going to let you bottom line it before we get to St. Francis coach Rob Krimmel, who is here. St. Mary's, the other side of this. I mean, this has been a bit of a renaissance year for them. I mean, they've scored the ball really well at various points in this season too. So as you get into the tournament, what do you make of this St. Mary's team in the postseason?
I think they're a really good team, and again, I think they're a team that kind of hangs their hat on defense. And the one thing that we kind of worry about is you can even use tonight as an example. This was a rock fight. This game was a rock fight. It's a really physical game. We talked about it a little bit coming into it. Steve mentioned it, like it was 1 3-pointer made in the entire game, and it wasn't on St. Mary's side. It's going to be tough in the NCAA tournament to win games like this. I'll say that much. And once the seeding does come out, especially, I'm not going to say especially, but after losing this game and just the conference that they play in and things like that, they're going to get screwed over a bit as far as seeding. So they're not going to have a whole lot of gimmies coming out of the gate. So, they're going to have to be ready to go right from the start. But, man, this is a team where they're going to need to manufacture enough offensive points just to make sure that they're able to hold teams down defensively and do what they do and win the way that they're accustomed to winning. But I think they got a chance, a serious chance to possibly get it to the second weekend.
Guys, I just Lenardi has an updated email for us, and he says St. Mary's plays for their winner-loss 4 straight 5 seed in the tournament, and the Zags move up out of the 8-9 with a win.
See? I don't even know why. I don't even know why I wasted my time asking the guy in the top right. I should just come right back. Steve should have just got back-to-backs. He should just do the second night of a back-to-back, Steve. You don't need load management, man. You're built for that. Is Coach Krimmel ready for us? Is he ready? I know he's been here. Let's get to him. Coach Rob Krimmel, who is going dancing. St. Francis basketball gets the win tonight over Central Connecticut, 46-43. Let's see if we can get him on here. I know this is we're four wide tonight, so I don't know how this is exactly going to look. Coach Krimmel, are you with us?
Well, while we try to get him going here, St. Francis, what he did this year is fairly historic in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 16-17, they're 8-8. They're the number 3 seed. They knock off Central Connecticut State, the clear favorite. Pat Sellers did a hell of a job over at Central this year, but Krimmel's been there since 2012, John. So he's been there a long time.
Man, yeah,
their last NCAA tournament appearance, 1991. Anybody want to guess who the coach was when they went last time?
Ooh.
Jim Barron. Jim Barron.
Wow.
Yeah,
and then he went to URI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he went.
Wow.
Did he go somewhere in between?
Maybe.
I feel like he might have gone somewhere in between there. Canisius?
Maybe in
Did
the
he go to
MAC.
Canisius? I think he went to Canisius or something in between.
Sounds right.
Do I get lifelines for college 91 trivia tonight?
Yeah.
You got to give me some. You got to give me some lifelines for the 91.
You're gonna need them. You're gonna need them on these one bidders.
Got to call
You're
the
gonna need
whole
'em.
head for that.
Yeah, but look, I
Yeah.
mean, that was. I don't know exactly what's going on, but that was a grind of it. I mean, it was 46-43, right? So really, I was most interested to know, like, when you're in a game like that is just so where points are so difficult, to come by, what does it take? What does it take in those timeouts? What does it take in those huddles to? Because I mean, and again, that was the 1 seed. They were significant underdogs tonight as well. Stanford, Steve. That was, and so I think they were 10.5. They closed 10.5 tonight.
Plus 500 on the money line. That's a nice hit.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we can take a break here and see what's going on with Coach Krimmel. Hopefully, get him back on the other side. We still obviously have a lot to get to. Jeff Goodman caught up with some other coaches who punched their tickets tonight. UNC Wilmington, the Sidler. I call him the Sidler. I don't know if it's catching on though. I really don't think it's catching on. Because it's like I was Borzello. I was like, your hens cannot solve the siddle. Like a riddle, Jeff. Fuck it, man. We're gonna come back. Hopefully, catch up with Rob Krimmel on the other side. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on a Tuesday, March 11th edition of the show. John Martin, Jeff Goodman, Jerel McNeal, Stanford Steve. Catch us on YouTube, on X, on SiriusXM, College Sports Channel 84. And as promised, hoping we have Coach Rob Krimmel with us from St. Francis. I don't want to keep pump faking. Do we have you, Coach? I'm telling you. I mean, we got to make it the greatest interview of all time when we do get him. We got to.
It'll be
make
good.
it the greatest interview of
It'll
all
be good
time.
because you previewed it twice. So,
Hey, I'm doing the best I can, man. You gave me the ball when the shot clock's running down. You throw me the grenade. You know, all I can do is throw it up, man.
no, it's like you're Kevin Durant playing when you play with Russell Westbrook. That's basically what you are right now. You're Kevin Durant when you play with Westbrook.
I'm Durant, and you're the young Westbrook. I got to clean up your mess, okay? But listen, Rob, I don't know if you can hear us. Great win tonight, man. No matter what, great win tonight. Congratulations on the tournament bid. Let's get into, if we can, some SEC tournament talk here. Jeff, I know that you were going to be there this week. Obviously, this has been the best conference all year long. Lots of different ways that this one can go. Coming into the week, who's a team or a couple of teams, Jeff Goodman, that you are keeping an eye on in this thing?
Well, I mean, Texas is the big one here in the SEC. You know, they're the one that could be number 14. I mean, if you think about it, if Oklahoma is number 13, then Texas is number 14. And if they go on a little bit of a run here, which is not going to be easy for them to do, right? I mean, they got to play Vandy, I think, first tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night. And they probably got to win one more after that. So I think Vandy and Georgia are already in. Arkansas, we know, is in. Oklahoma should be in because of what they've done in the non-conference. So they're going to set the record. We know that. They're going to break the record this year. The big question is, can they get number 14 in? And if number 14 gets in, it's also going to allow Rodney Terry to save his job. So that's a big one. To me, that's the – I know there are big picture storylines coming out of the SEC. You know, who's the final number one seed is probably the biggest storyline to come out of there. But for me, I'm intrigued to see, can they get 14 teams out of their 16 in the NCAA tournament? That is insanity. I mean, think about that, guys. That's a quarter of the field.
I mean, it really is. Yeah, and I saw Stanford. I don't want to hold you accountable for somebody else's.
You got me?
But
Is there anything good? You guys got me?
Is that the voice of Rob?
Yeah. Did it finally work?
There we go.
There he is.
Work.
Rob Krimmel. We got him.
Sorry, guys.
Anybody
I
else?
don't know how religious you guys are, but it was like the voice of God himself. I mean, we have been working almost as hard as your guys worked tonight, Coach, to win that game. So it's nice to have you here on the show. Congratulations. Yeah, and what I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on is to win a game like that. How do you do it? I mean, when points are so precious and they're hard to come by, how do you win a game like that?
Yeah, I think in your previous segment, you guys talked about a rock fight, and we set offensive basketball back a few years, but you know, the way our guys responded in that atmosphere, you know, says a lot about, you know, the way they've developed as a group. We've been scoring the ball pretty well the last couple of weeks, and Central Connecticut is the most efficient offense in the league. So if you had told me that the game was going to be in the 40s, I would say no way. I thought it would be closer to, you know, in the 70s or the 80s. But, you know, looking at the box score, I still don't know how we won. I mean, we didn't shoot the ball well. We got out-rebounded. But at the end of the game, you know, made some plays that we needed to make and got the stop that we needed to get.
Rob, how cool has this one been for you? Because again, I mean, listen, you've had your struggles as a team a little bit lately, but for you, how gratifying has this one been? You know, you're 16 and 17. You're the number 3 seed, so it wasn't like you came out of nowhere. But obviously, you had a tough non-conference stretch, which a lot of teams in the league do, and you started off a little bit rough in league play.
Yeah, I mean, it was our 4th appearance in the championship game, and I was starting to think, you know, maybe it's not in the cards, and you know, but the group that we have this year responded unlike any other group we've had. They really embraced the journey. We never lost more than 2 in a row. You know, it truly was a player-driven team. I mean, it's coach speak, but those guys came to practice every day. They worked extra on their game. Riley Parker, we had a superhero to be able to carry us at times where we were struggling. But it means a lot. I mean, it's the first time since 1991 that we've been in the NCAA tournament. There's so much tradition here at St. Francis, going back to Maurice Stokes and guys like Kevin Porter, Norm Van Leer, who wore the jersey back in the 50s and the 60s. But we've come close a couple other times. But for these guys to experience this and be a part of St. Francis basketball history will be something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Coach, first off, congratulations again. I got a chance to watch this one, and like you kind of alluded to, it was almost like you guys had the old school bubbles up on the rim. But if you watch the game and you like basketball, man, I got to say I really did enjoy it. I watched a good portion of it. For the most part, it was a 2 or 3 possession game all the way through, man. So both teams were really battling. I got to ask you, just put on my coach's hat here for a second. What goes through your mind that last possession after they scored the last basket to tie the game up? I think it was close to like 14 or 15 seconds left on the clock, and you guys, I thought, did a really great job of getting a quick inbounds first and then pushing it into a really good fast-paced secondary kind of transition. He was able to get a clean look off the pull-up jumper. Just wondering, like, what runs through your mind on the coaching side of that, as far as like how much time goes off the clock? At what point do you think about maybe burning a timeout if you need to?
I've always been players make the plays. I don't need to call a timeout. And these guys have been in enough close games late that they understand what's at stake. We won 3 straight overtime games before we got to the tournament. 1 or 2 tournament games, getting fouled on a 3-point shot to win the game. And in that situation, I didn't want to call a timeout. Central Connecticut is so good defensively that I didn't want to give them a chance to set up. And at that point, we had, I trust the players, and I've been that way as a head coach. Late in the game, I don't want to call a timeout just so I can get on the board and draw a play while the other coach is down there, diagramming a defense to try to stop us. And, fortunately, Damar, and Riley and Juan and some of our perimeter guys, we had multiple guys out there to make a play. And, Damar struggled throughout the course of the game. I think he was 2 for 11 at that point, 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. And it's a shot that he shoots all the time in workouts. So when he went to take the shot, I felt good about it. And fortunately, we were able to get the stop then to hold on.
Coach, I love the setup of this tournament, how the highest seed, it gets the home game. I think it's tremendous. But I've watched this final a lot. I grew up in Connecticut, and it felt like the road team always pulled it out. But I just want to know, how far in the underdog bag did you go with this team? You lost 5 in a row to Central. You're going on the road. Like, did you go Jimmy V speeches? Like, how far down the road in this underbag? I know you got every coach got underdog talks. Well, how far did you go down that bag?
I really didn't have to go that far. I thought it was maybe at halftime. In our last game, we played as soft as we played all year against LIU, and I came in and read them the riot act, and they responded. But in the first half, I mean, it was 2020. It wasn't pretty, but we were getting the shots that we wanted. And, we defensively we're doing some good things, but they knew what was at stake. They're not dummies. They knew that we had gotten blown out the 2 games before, but I told them, listen, we just need to be better than them for 40 minutes tonight. That's it. Right. And we treated it like, about win 1 round at a time. But Luke McConnell, our associate head coach, whose cousin TJ McConnell, Aunt Susie McConnell, the whole, his dad Tom was my coach. They've got, a ton of basketball in their family. And, he told our guys before the game, he gave them the image of a boulder and something he got lost on YouTube about, just hitting the boulder. Yeah. With the hammer a couple of times, and eventually it breaks. We weren't going to smash the boulder. We weren't going to just come in there and hit home runs from the start. And I think our guys really embraced that. Just one hit at a time, and eventually it broke, and we were 3 points ahead.
Well, Coach, man, congratulations on the dub. We are so thrilled we could get you on to talk about it, man. And I think that's a lesson for us all. We could have given up after the first attempt. We could have given up after the second attempt. We didn't. We kept fighting. We got you on, man. Congratulations again, and we'll be pulling for you in the tournament, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Krimmel from St. Francis basketball. Really good stuff from him. Glad we could get him on and discuss it. Because I like, what would you say, 91, Jeff Goodman, since the last time they went to the tournament? I mean, that's the year I was born. I'm 33.
You look older than that.
That's a long.
Okay, we believe
it. I didn't until I started here. I didn't look my age until I started here at Field of 68. So, blaming you for that one. We were talking about the SEC tournament, Stanford, Steve, and I don't want to hold you accountable for somebody else's opinion, but I'm just gonna filter it through you. Ken Pom had a piece a week ago that basically asked the question, why aren't we talking about the SEC being overrated? And basically his point is that a team that exceeds the expectations the way they have is just due for regression. Are you aligned with that train of thought? What do you think we see from the SEC in the postseason?
I think it's anything but overrated. I mean, watching it night in and night out. I mean, the guys had Coach Oates on after his game Saturday at Auburn. You look at that 7-game stretch and what the teams they played, and then like you look back and how things went. They get beat at the buzzer by Tennessee, neck and neck with Florida. Florida runs them the second half. I think it's loaded. This is what just happens, though, and this is a test. But I think we need more out of the committee, because we cannot have conference rematches in the second round. I don't care if you got to move people down seed lines. It's just not fair. And I remember, I don't know if Jerel's on that team, but I remember Marquette played Cincinnati in the second round one year when both teams were in the Big East. It was terrible. Both teams were great. And I just, like I said, move the seed lines. Just avoid that. I understand when you're Jeff's talking about 14. If Texas can do it, it's the all-time record for sure. But we got to be able to space it out. But again, it's another challenge that the committee's going to probably have to work Saturday and Sunday, which the last couple of years it seems like they haven't. They just shut the doors on Friday night. So I hope they put in the extra time and go the extra length, so we get that, because we want it as fans. As much as hell, the coaches and the players want that.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm excited. I'm going up to Nashville on Friday, making the drive up from Memphis. I don't even want to talk about how much I spent to do it, but at least I'm watching Florida and Bama. So I'm excited about that piece of it. Jerel, who's going to have the best week? I don't mean who's going to win it. I don't mean who's going to win the SEC tournament, although maybe those answers are the same. But who do you think, when this SEC tournament is all said and done, we're going to be saying they helped themselves the most this week?
I think when you put it that way, John, you kind of got to go first toward the bubble teams and or the teams that are just kind of eking their way into the NCAA tournament. And if I had to guess right now, and this is just a shot in the dark, I would probably say Arkansas, a team like Arkansas, which I think if they win two games, it helps them tremendously as far as just not only just making sure that they're in, but even maybe boosting their seeding a little bit. But they got a number of teams that are right there as well too. Goodman talked about it a little bit earlier, just with Texas. Like Texas is they're kind of in win or go home mode right away, right out of the gate. So there'll obviously be a ton of teams that are just a part of that bubble bath of the SEC on the back end of the conference that can really help themselves, man. But I think more than anything, I'll say this as well too, John, just about the SEC. Really good conference. I do not think it's overrated, but once you get to those last couple of teams in the conference, I think they got some really, like, they really benefited out of the strength of schedule and how great some of the other mid to level and top end teams are. Like when I think about it, like, I don't know how good Oklahoma is. We obviously seen Arkansas struggle, but I still know that they got the talent, but I don't know how good Vandy is. And I'm not even sure if Texas deserves to be in. So, I think they really benefited from having, a huge conference with a lot of really good teams in it as well.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that the top is just, top 3, right? And maybe 4, if you guys want to include Tennessee in there, I suppose we could do that. They did beat, Alabama. Jeff Goodman, how do you beat Florida? How do you do it?
Slow them down, keep them off the glass, right? You got to get back in transition.
Yeah. You're right.
You're
right.
That is fight them on the glass.
How do you do that?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I think certain teams obviously match up better. I mean, you thought Auburn did, but Auburn split against them. I don't know. I mean, I think Florida is probably as complete a team as there is in the country, right? They're 3 or 4 guards. When you add Aberdeen in there, probably as good a quartet as there is. And then you put their front court that doesn't necessarily look the part, but you got Hangleton back, and Alex Condon is phenomenal. Like, as good of a forward as there probably is. He doesn't look the part, but he's a ferocious rebounder. He can score in the post. He can step out and make mid-range shots. I just really, if you look at what Todd Golden and his staff did putting together this team, I think they did as good a job as anybody in the country of saying, like, let's get these pieces that fit together.
Yeah. Stanford Steve, if you had to pick a team in this league, I don't have the prices in front of me right now.
Texas A&M 25-1.
Yeah, that's
wow.
pretty good.
Look at
I
us.
like that one too.
This is our first time working together.
I mean, like Jerel just
knew where
talked
I was
about,
going.
the teams. I was looking at the middle. Like, I always try and look for a long shot in the top of the bracket, in the bottom of the bracket. Butler is so important to Kentucky because they're not great defensively, but he's a great guy on the ball that gives them a chance. But I feel like they're beat up, and they're going to do well outside the conference when we get to NCAAs. But A&M is an absolute pain in the ass to play. They're going to get the Texas Vanderbilt winner. I just look at the price. You avoid Florida and Alabama, who's on the bottom of the bracket. You got Tennessee. You know what that game is going to be all about. You limit Tennessee on the perimeter. You'll be all right. And I just take my chances with A&M. I mean, he made the run last year. Nobody saw that coming, and they were scoring they scored 90. I think they scored 92 games in a row, and then just ran out of gas against Auburn in the final. But they took out all the teams on the way. So A&M is the ultimate. I mean, 25-1. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, put that in your windshield. Go down, drive 9 interstate. Right? Let's kind of see where you end up. It'll be a fun ride. Real quick before we go to break, Jerel, bottom line with you again. Steve kind of mentioned it. Like, the SEC has been beaten up on itself, obviously, here for 3 months. Is it going to be the effect like Steve talked about with just seeing a team that's not in the SEC and we see how wide that gap is? Or is there a residual effect of just getting the shit beat out of you every single night in this league? Which do you think it looks more like?
No, and I'll jump on this one just really strictly from a player's perspective because Steve talked about it earlier, and we all I played when we were the Big East. It was the 16-team Big East, so I think on the high end, a couple of those years we may have got 9 or 10 teams in, and that was always one of the worries, man, is that you don't want to run into one of these teams that they don't have to do any scout work. They super familiar with you. You done played them maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on your schedule, as well too. But I think the middle of the pack of the SEC and the upper echelon really thrives in this tournament. I have no idea, no expectations for the bottom or the back end of the teams that kind of sneak in there. But I love the Texas A&M one. I got another one. I think they're going to be sneaky good or really dangerous as Mizzou as well too. But I think those guys hold serve. We've seen them just absolutely beat the ACC, which is pretty bad this year, to a Pope earlier in the year. I think they'll hold serve and they'll do well, at least the middle of the pack in the upper echelon of those teams in the SEC.
All right. When we come back, did you call it a bubble bath, by the way? Is that – I don't know if anybody else –
If you like that, John? Did you like that, John?
I think that has a chance to catch on mainstream. You and Goodman are going to get in the bubble bath together when we get back because we have some bubble games. We have some bubble games tomorrow, 3 as a matter of fact, at the very least. So we'll go through those and a lot more. Also got the afters. Don't go anywhere. Field of 68 after dark.
As teams are fighting to get off the bubble and into the field of 68, I got a beverage for you that's been off the bubble since day one. Dad Water. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail unlike anything else on the market today. If you're tired of the same old beers and seltzers on game day, crack open something different. Dad Water is made with tequila, water, and natural flavors. Nothing artificial, no BS. It's 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, so if you're on a diet like me, you're good to go. Dad Water is also an Indiana brand. College hoops is in its DNA, and they want you to enjoy a great lineup of products all tournament long. Dad Water is the ultimate game time drink with no bubbles. It just drinks like water. Clean, smooth, refreshing, and without those burps. So take it from me. This is the easiest drinking adult beverage I've ever had. Dad Water is now available at Target, Total Wine and Liquor, and Meijer, as well as your favorite local liquor stores. Or you can order online at drinkdadwater.com. Dad Water, tequila, water, natural flavor.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here, Tuesday, March 11th. Really quickly, congratulations to the Lamar Cardinals. Alvin Brooks is moving on to the title game. A lot of haters, when they were down 12, they said, nope, it's not going to be Lamar. They can't do it against this Nichols team. But Alvin Brooks said, oh, it will be us. It will be us. And I don't know. I mean, they got to play McNeal tomorrow. That's all they got to do is just beat Will Wade and McNeal. But, hey, they're moving on, and some of us had Lamar -1. All right, we talked about the SEC. I'm John Martin. Jeff Goodman's here. Jerel, McNeal, Stanford, Steve is here. We talked about the SEC. Let's bounce around. Let's get to some of the other conference tournaments that are obviously going to be kicking off this week. And let's start with the Big Ten, Jeff Goodman. Who do you like? Where are your vibes with the Big Ten tournament? Who's going to have a good week?
Well, I think the Big Ten is kind of like the SEC light to me this year. It's deep. Maybe not quite as deep as the SEC. They got some good teams at the top, but it's not as dominant as the SEC. But it's going to be a fun one, and it's fairly wide open, right? I mean, we said that all year, and yeah, Michigan State's the best team. They have the best coach, but they can be beaten. They're not overpowering good. I think the biggest storylines, for me, that Iowa-Ohio State game is intriguing for me for a couple reasons. Number one, it could be Fran McCaffrey's last game as head coach of the Hawkeyes. And he's been there 15 years, and he's done a hell of a job. I know he hasn't gotten past the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, but he's made Iowa pretty much nationally relevant almost every year for the last 10 years. And they play Ohio State. And Jake Diebler, being their first-year head coach, has to win this game. If he doesn't win this game, they're gone. I don't see any way they make the NCAA tournament. And he's got talent. He's got really good guards. There's no reason that Ohio State should be in this position right now. I know he's a first-year head coach, but when you've got those type of guards, and in particular you got Bruce Thornton that you can trust, they should be in the tournament right now in a league like this. So I think Ohio State's got to win that one at minimum. And maybe, depending on what else happens this week around the country, might need to beat Illinois. But that's, to me, the most intriguing early game for the Big Ten.
Yeah, Steve, Illinois, man, they are such a fascinating one for me because I genuinely, and I think I speak for a lot of people, including Illini fans, when I say that I hated watching them for the better part of January and February. But then, Brad Underwood has that moment where he has this epiphany. He's like, listen, my guys are healthier. The various contagions that have, ripped through our locker room are over. And I'll be damned. Look at them now. They've won 3 in a row. They obviously come back and beat Purdue and even cover the number there at home. So are you buying Illinois both in this tournament and for the NCAA tournament?
I can't do it. I get it. They got things back on the track. They had the illness and everything. But I still love Maryland's draw. I know they haven't had success in the Big Ten tournament. I think they've made one semifinal, but when you look at, they're going to get the winner of, Rutgers. What is it? No, yeah, the Illinois deal. I just love the matchup. Maryland went there and beat them. Maryland and the Michigan's on the bottom of Maryland. They just went there, went there and beat them. I think Maryland's best is the best in the conference. I said that a little bit earlier, and I get it.
You are such a homer. What are you doing? Are you trying to get more airtime on Scotch Go?
I am not.
You don't get enough?
Jeff, you know me. I would give it to him if I didn't like his team. I think they're tremendous, man. The issue, Michigan State, they didn't play great. One guy made 3-pointers for them. They lose by a 60-footer. I don't care about the bench, and we're in March. TV timeouts are as long as anything, especially in this tournament, especially the Big Ten. So I think avoid foul trouble. I actually like Geronimo, the way he comes off the bench and attacks and plays his role. I love Maryland's draw on this. And on the top, call me crazy, I would take a shot with Oregon. They're like 28-1. They get Indiana and, Michigan State, how much fight they got in them. We've seen – I'm not that scared of them. Like Coach Krimmel said, 40 minutes. You got to be better once for 40 minutes. Dana's had a great success in conference tournaments. And going to the Big Ten, I don't expect anything. But, again, 28-1, I look at them. But Maryland's the pick for me.
Steve, did I just catch you rattling the cage of Tom Izzo there? Is that what that was? You were rattling old Izzo's cage, asking how much fight they got left in them?
Their work is so done, and it's been great. I mean, that gauntlet they just ran through was as impressive as what anybody has done in that league. The wild card to me is UCLA because I have no idea what to expect from them.
Yeah, agreed. I love that UCLA team. Jerel, what about this field? Can you see Michigan State doing it like they did in that 5-game span? Who do you think can emerge in this week?
I don't love necessarily the Oregon pick, but I do got a bit of a bold prediction for this one. I completely agree about the Michigan State thing. I do not think they're going to win because at the end of the day, they're Big Ten champs. They don't have a whole lot left to play for at this juncture. I don't think they really move the needle one way or another with the rest of this tournament. Like you said, their work is kind of done. But I do think that, and this is the prediction, I don't think anybody in their top 4 is going to win the tournament. I think this tournament is going to get won by somebody who starts playing on Thursday. So I take Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue. That would be my 3 to keep an eye on to possibly get hot and rattle off a couple wins because all of those teams are going to be teams that these wins are going to be big for them as far as seeding and things like that. And they're obviously 3 teams I felt like were in the mix for the better part of the year, outside of Illinois when they had that stretch and they just fell off a cliff. But Purdue and Wisconsin were really good until they weren't, and were kind of in the mix all the way down the stretch until they let some games get away as well too. So that's my bold prediction. I think it's going to be somebody that starts playing on Thursday that's going to take this thing all the way.
All right, there you have it. Marked and membered, Jerel. So we got that down. All right, let's hit the Big 12 here. It has gotten underway. Kansas State won over Arizona State, so they are at one point. By the way, just as an aside, Kansas State was the number 1 team in the country according to Torvik for like 3 weeks. If you just adjusted it from like January 29th to like February 17th, they were number 1. I'm not making that stat up. They're not that anymore, but it's just a trivia. It's better than your 1991, who was the third assistant on the bench. I mean, that was ridiculous. But yes, in this Big 12, I kind of think the same about the Big 12 and Houston as Steve does about Michigan State. And that Kelvin Sampson, Jeff, has never been a huge conference tournament guy. Like Steve said, they've done their work, right? I guess you could argue that they're trying to hold on to the 1, but are you expecting Houston to run through this, Jeff? Well, how do you see it sort of going for them?
No, I'm not. I mean, They dominated the regular season. But like you said, I feel like in a way, if you're Kelvin Sampson, especially with how hard his guys play, I almost feel like it's a blessing if they lose early in the tournament. Still hold on to number
really
one,
is.
right?
It is.
I mean, it's true.
He
I
will
mean, those
not
guys
shed
are
a
like,
single tear. He will not shed a tear if he loses in the first at the first game.
yeah, probably the best thing for him. You know, I still question, and I know they've shot it well, but I still question whether they have enough offensive weapons to win the whole thing. Can they go to the Final Four? Absolutely. But there's a difference between going to the Final Four, winning 4 and winning 6. To me, is completely different because obviously the level of competition jumps up so much when you and the pressure and all that. I think for me, the most interesting aspect of this, I think, is can Iowa State get its mojo back? Because I still felt like early on in the season, this is a team that can go to the Final Four and maybe win the whole damn thing. And they've had injuries, illnesses. You know, Keyshawn Gilbert, I reported he's going to be back for the tournament, Big 12 tournament. Still dealing with a lower body groin injury. You know, Lipsey's been hurt all year. You know, he's got a shoulder injury, a broken thumb. I mean, he's got all sorts of things, but he refuses to sit. That's how tough this team is. I just feel like I want to see it here. Because if we don't see it here, I'm out on him going to the NCAA tournament. But if we see it here, I think I'm back in the wagon.
Steve, who do you have your eye on in this one?
This is basically all based on price of the tournament. But Kansas is 12-1 to win this. And I've heard McCall and T.O. talk on this podcast about going to conference tournaments and getting things figured out. I look at their path. They're UCF won tonight. They're going to get UCF. Then they get Arizona. They just beat Arizona easily the other day. And then you don't know who it's going to be. Probably Texas Tech, but something tells me Baylor's got something up their sleeve that could be a sleeper. It's just the price. I know how I've watched them. We've had to follow Kansas more than anybody on ESPN after games, and it hasn't been pretty. My biggest wild card, a lot like Kentucky getting out of the conference and going to the NCAA tournament, I can't wait to see BYU's draw in the NCAA tournament. What they run offensively, we could get BYU Iowa State again. To me, that was the game of the year this year when BYU blew the 21-point lead in Ames and still held on. I haven't seen guys that exhausted in a game in overtime in a long time. So those are the two teams for me. I take a shot with BYU, and again, taking a shot with Kansas at 12-1, knowing the history in this tournament and the success and where it's played. And the Kansas people have better seats than if you go to this, right, Jeff?
Yes. No, I'm done. I'm never going to the Big 12. And people killed me for that tweet today. No, I got crucified
because it was out of
tweet.
touch. It was out of touch. It was extremely out of touch.
That's BS.
No, it's not.
When you're up in the 5th level, all right, you're up in the 5th level. You need binoculars, number one. And the way I cover the event, if something happens newsy, I'm expected to be on top of that. Well, how the hell can I be on top of it from the 5th floor? What am I going to do, parachute down?
Hey, look, all I'm saying is I remember when this season began and we were doing the Field of 68 showcase, and my man Avila, the big man for St. Louis. Avila, sorry. Jeff Goodman was our sideline reporter, and he didn't even give us a fucking update. Okay,
went off the
so
air.
it doesn't matter if you're in the ceiling or the sidelines. You're not gonna get it for us. Okay.
Good point.
So
you're probably right.
Anyway, Jerel, real quick before we get to toast of the night, how do you see Big 12 tournament playing out?
I think Jeff hit it on the head for me. I hitched my wagon to Iowa State early on in the year. They obviously had some things transpire within their locker room as far as health wise, and I think some of those guys got sick toward the end as well too. So I think these are going to be pivotal games for those guys. Really just to get it going, and more than anything, get some games under their belt when they're actually fully healthy, because they got the pieces, man. There's no doubt about that. They got the pieces to make a deep run, and I think possibly get to a Final Four. But those guys haven't all been healthy really at all this year throughout the course of the year. So I think it'll be huge for them. Also, another team to keep an eye on, I would say, is Texas Tech as well, too. I like Texas Tech. I think they've done a great job this year, and that's a sneaky good team as well.
Yeah, and I think they're going to, like, really want it. They seem like a team that's going to be super motivated to win the Big 12 tournament. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into Toast of the Night. Jeff, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, there's only one toast for me, and that's to Leonard Hamilton, who coached his final game tonight in the ACC tournament. 76 years old. He's been doing this thing, and he told an unbelievable story of how he recruited Fly Williams to us at the ACC Media Day preseason. It was insane. If you haven't seen it, figure it out, find it. It's on Field of 68. But he was basically a young assistant at Austin P back in the early 70s. Didn't know what the hell he was doing. Went into Fly Williams' house, turned back the clock over and over because Fly didn't come home, and it was just him and his mother there. So the sun came up, and Fly he kept turning the clock back to make sure that the mom didn't kick him out, and he got Fly, and Fly was awesome. So Leonard, love you, man. Gonna miss you.
Yeah, old school, man. The old school recruiting when you showed up at midnight in the living room. That is missing from this sport. All right, Steve, who you got?
I'll go UNCW. Getting there, it's been a struggle. I've also on board saying for the last month that somebody from the Coastal is going to win a game in a tournament. Looks like they're going to be a 14. 3 seeds, watch out. It's a good league.
All right. Jerel, 25 seconds before we get out of here. Who gets your toast tonight?
And I'll make it a quick one. I got a chance to watch Youngstown State and Robert Morris. It was a hell of a game. It was a really well played, a clean game, and Robert Morris shot the lights out tonight, 50%, punched their ticket. So that's my toast.
Bobby Mo.
There you have it. Well, listen, we're going to head over to the afters. The party's not stopping. We got a lot more to get to. Some tickets that have been punched and some interviews. So stick with us. Jeff Goodman, Stanford Steve, Jerel McNeal, John Martin. Hang around.
I want my home to feel like my home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Now is your chance to prove you're smarter than the Field of 68. We're hosting a Survivor contest with our partner Splash Sports. There's a $25 entry fee, a 25 entry max in the contest, and more than 1,700 spots available, which means there's a $40,000 max prize for the winner. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Each day you pick a team to win. If they win, you advance. We'll also be running a free to enter bracket contest as well as a second chance Survivor in the Sweet 16. So prove you know more ball than the Field of 68 on Splash Sports. We're live. It's the afters.
Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
This is the afters here on Field of 68. Jeff Goodman, Stanford Steve is hanging out. Jerel McNeal is here. I'm John Martin. We talked about most of the power conferences. So now it feels like a good time to get into the American Athletic Conference. I mean, if you're just, I mean, right? I'm talking about power leagues. I'm talking about power leagues. You know, I mean, inside the power structure. ESPN television deal. I'm just trying to take care of our man
Would
here.
you take the Field, Steve? Would you take the Field or Memphis?
Memphis.
Ooh.
Ball
John
knower.
Martin? John
Ball
Martin,
knower.
Field or Memphis?
He knows
Field
ball.
or your Tigers?
No one's
absolutely
talked
knows
about
ball.
them since Maui, Jeff. No one.
It's true.
And they've
There's a
done a
reason
good
for
job
it.
of taking everybody's best shot. Everybody's best shot they've gotten in that conference.
All All right, this is
Yeah,
not going
I
to be a
mean-
Memphis show.
No,
So
he
let's move
doesn't.
on to a real
See,
league.
this is
Let's
just
move
one
on
of
to a
the-
real league, please.
the bullshit parameters that get put on me at this network by him. But no, listen, we'll have plenty of time to get to Memphis when they're in San Antonio. Jeff Goodman, you're exactly
There you
right. The ACC, you know, we saved this one because, you know, I think most people just kind of have Duke winning it, right? And I understand that. I completely understand that. But Jeff Goodman, let's just start with, okay, Duke's won. Who can push them the most of the rest in this field? Who can push them the most in the ACC tournament?
I mean, I think this is up to Duke. And the problem is for Duke, they're so methodical. They again, I said this a month or two ago. They remind me a little bit of Villanova in their approach. Those old Villanova teams with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and those guys.
Mhm.
They just kind of get down to business. They don't really take anybody lightly. I will say that the team is Clemson because Clemson got them. Like that's the one team to me that I would be scared of if I was Duke. But for the most part, Duke, if they play their B game, they're going to beat anybody in this league in the conference tournament. So I just don't see anybody beating.
Do you agree with that, Steve? Is he on point?
The one thing I just want to see the Clemson Louisville game, just because it's going to be, you know, if ACC has any success in this tournament, they're going to need those two teams to play well. Everybody knows they haven't had a ranked matchup the whole year in the conference. It's the first time ever. It's kind of sad, but Clemson, you know, just got ranked after they beat Duke. Duke beat Louisville so early in the year, but my eyes are on Carolina. I want to see what they bring to the table. They're 30-1 to win the tournament. They get Notre Dame. They get a warm-up. They get 2 warm-ups. But they can't lose before getting another chance to Duke if they have any chances. They got to win out. And 30-1, I just look at them. I still think when you look at their guards and what they bring to the table and how good they were when they got right, you know, their guards are tremendous. And again, they're 31 for a reason. But that would be the team I would look at as a flyer in this tournament. And they got, you know, Duke gets Malik back. That was huge. He hits 2 threes after he hit 2 all year in a crucial stretch at Chapel Hill, and Carolina unraveled. But now you get true desperation. You get one last stand for Carolina. That's who I'm watching in this tournament.
Jerel, how about you, my man?
I think both of those guys covered it. It's just not enough. There are not enough quality teams in the ACC to really jump around too much. Obviously, that Clemson-Louisville matchup would be great. I agree with that as well too. Clemson is really the only threat I feel like to Duke right now. But I do want to see what I'll say. What is it? SMU. I guess you got to take a look at them a little bit just to see what happens with that. I think that's one of the teams that doesn't have like a quad 1 win all year or something like that.
They don't.
So
they're a fraud.
You could. I guess you at least got to keep an eye on them just to see if they can string together a couple wins and at least get the opportunity to get one of those quad 1 wins.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous that we have gone 3 wide here. And I guess nobody just wants to be bold or brave enough to mention the Clemson Tigers. They're one of very few that have beaten Duke. And I honestly, like, I love them. I love this Clemson team. Like, obviously, it's going to be very difficult to beat Duke on a neutral site, especially in a rematch situation there. But I don't know, for the big tournament, I mean, they have Jeff Goodman. To me, maybe you disagree, and I don't want to put this on you if you don't, but like, they've got the guard play. They've got the experience. I mean, Brownell is a guy who, like, doesn't get thought about as a great coach. He just doesn't. Like, I mean, you know, there's the Clemsoning, you know, adjective when teams, you know, choke late. But did he not lose P.J. Hall a year ago from an Elite Eight team? Did he not come back this year with a good portion of that group back? And basically, it seems like on March 11th that he's in position to make another run like that. I think this Clemson team is live, not just in the ACC tournament, but if they get right back to where they were a year ago, Jeff Goodman, it would not surprise me in the slightest.
No, they've been in a roll. I mean, their only loss since January 7th is Georgia Tech at home, and kind of one of those.
It was a weird one. Weird one.
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, what the hell happened? Georgia Tech.
Jeff, do you think Clemson's better than they were last year?
Yeah, I actually do, and I love PJ Hall, but I think Jaden Zachary gives him that toughness. Chase Hunter's better. He's taking a jump. You're bringing Jaden Zachary, who's just a bulldog. I love Locken. I love Victor Locken. And Shefflin just plays his role, right? He's just tough. And so, yes, I think they're actually a more well-rounded team overall this year. And, I agree with you, John. I think Clemson's dangerous, and I wouldn't want to see them in the NCAA tournament because they're old. And, again,
and they've done it. They've been there a year ago. I mean,
they're tough.
That's the other thing. Those are the most dangerous teams. And like you, I don't bet, but I've got Clemson 80-1 to win it all. So I would not mind a run there at all. So yeah, I think that just unless anybody has any other thoughts on the ACC tournament here that we didn't touch on, I think that should just about cover it.
I just need we got to ask the Marquette guy about the Big East.
Yes,
that's right. He needs to answer.
Big East some love, baby.
We got to ask the Marquette guy what the hell's going on with Marquette.
His own yard. There's no doubt about that. There's no question about that. So yeah, let's go to the Big East, which is obviously, it's not the Big East that we are necessarily accustomed to from a couple of years ago, and that's why you've heard the cries for expansion. But when you look at this field, Jeff Goodman, St. John's has some injuries that they're dealing with currently. Who do you think should be the favorite in this field, Jeff?
I mean, it's the Johnnies, right? I think it has to be because Rick Pitino walks in that garden and it's like the ultimate home court advantage, even when UConn has had that advantage in that building for years. The Johnnies are back, and you know what? They're always going to guard. I just saw them a couple weeks ago, pretty much beat the crap out of UConn in that building. I know UConn's better. Caravan looks better, but I'm still going with Johnny's in this one.
Steve, I haven't even checked it, to be honest. I don't know that the Johnnies are the favorite. Do you know? Are they the favorite? Okay, they are the favorite.
Yeah, they're like plus 200.
Okay, and what do you make of that field?
I've not because he's here, but I know they just got their heart ripped out Sunday against St. John's, but Marquette has had success in that building. I love their style, and the same old, same old. If they make threes, they are an absolute handful. And that you get Thursday afternoon after that day session, St. John's against whoever, and then you get Xavier and Marquette. That's a fantastic doubleheader. But I love the makeup because Cam's a guy that team knows when they need one where they're going. And he's going to get it done. Going all the way back to the beginning of the season here at Maryland. I was like, you start figuring out about teams. I'm like, well, Marquette knows they got their guy. And, again, the style of play is conducive. I can't wait to see where the Big East teams go in the bracket when we get to the 64. So Marquette's the team. I love what Xavier's done. I thought Sean's done an unbelievable job. I went to their game here at Georgetown early in the year. I didn't think they were a tournament team. And now they're to 4 to 5 with Marquette. So I think St. John's is if I know the conference is begging for St. John's and UConn, but I don't think UConn wants to see St. John's again. I just look at that matchup as a tough one for UConn, and I like the way Marquette match because they can match the intensity, they can match the brutal play and the speed. So I look at Marquette as an underdog to win this tournament.
Jerel, any? I can't imagine that you would disagree with him.
Not one bit, and he hit it right on the head. But I've got a little bit. I got a little bit of extra inside information as well because I know one thing for sure, and I mentioned this to Jeff a couple days ago. Our fashion correspondent Cam Jones is going to be pissed off because we left him off the field of 68 first team, All-American. So. Hey, and he showed improved last year. I think that's what emergence of Cam kind of went. Tyler Kolek was out, and Steve hit it on the head. And I'll just add on to that by saying that Ben Gold has been playing better down the stretch, and I think that's been much needed. He's been able to make some outside shots. He's actually getting a little bit more confidence, shot faking, putting the ball down, and trying to at least go draw some foul and get some looks at the basket. They gave St. John's all they could handle at home that last game. Only thing about that pick I do not love is that matchup versus Xavier. Xavier's played them tough both times. And to be honest with you, I think that one's going to be a dog fight. And in a lot of conference tournaments, games like that are usually your toughest game. I think if they get past Xavier on Thursday, that Marquette does have a good chance as anybody to win it. We traditionally, as a fan base, they travel well. For whatever reason, our fans love making that trip out to New York and going to watch the Big East tournament. So I know we'll have some people in the building. That first game, hopefully that's enough to kind of urge them on and get them through that first round draw against Xavier. I was hoping they were going to be able to escape that game and make it up to at least a higher seed so that they can get one of the teams they got to play on that first night. But it is what it is. I think they put it all together. Cam Jones puts everybody on notice, has a huge Big East tournament. Marquette makes a run and gets some of these guys in the group chat off of my back. I think they haven't had a ranked
long
win
year.
And since it's been a long back end.
Feels like it's been since 2023 or something.
That's how it feels. We just ain't been able to get one good quality one in a while. But what better time than now for those guys to kind of put the pieces all together and get hot again.
I do also find that, and by the way, we are hoping to have Gonzaga coach and West Coast Conference champ Mark Few on in just a moment. Lots to get to with him. He's going dancing, of course. Was going dancing anyway, but, it's nice to get the auto bed, just to get the cherry on top. I just find it interesting, fellas, that we're talking about the Big East. We talk about, St. John's, and we talk about Marquette, and we didn't mention UConn, Steve. And I mean, I understand that that's probably earned over the course of this year. It's been a disappointment, but are we just going to be left up waiting all night for them to turn that corner? And this is just who they are. Or do you think there is a world where they go on a run like this in the Big East tournament and can win this thing?
Oh no, I definitely think they can. I love their draw out of the bottom. I totally think they're going to the final. What they've done, the experience. I mean, you guys have had Danny on. Everybody knows Danny and how. I mean, he's got to be absolutely just raring to go for the next tournament. But again, hearing coaches talk, love conference tournaments because you get to work on certain things. And you talk about all the offensive sets they throw at you. Goodman talked about how Carabin looks better. To me, it's just different because they don't have the playmaking ability at the point guard position, which they've had ever since I've been alive. So that's what's interesting to see how much more stuff they got to run through to get what they want. But their bigs have been active. They're tough. Obviously, they're going to guard you. And it's about getting some dribble penetration to open things up. I feel like for the shooters, so they're definitely going to be heard from. I expect big things from them in the next tournament too. But I totally see them playing Saturday night in the final.
It's just kind of staggering, Jeff Goodman, when you look at this, and I'm looking at the futures right now. Like, I legitimately think there's only 4 teams in the entire league that we should even waste oxygen on in terms of winning it. And the rest are just dead. Like, they're just dead. I mean, the bottom of this is, it's abominable. I mean, Seton Hall, DePaul, Providence, Georgetown, Butler. I'm even going to throw Nova in there. I mean, I realize that this has been a point of contention for the Big East. But, I mean, how much of a priority do you think it's going to be for them to fix this in the offseason? Because this is bad relative to what they expect in that league.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think, obviously, Georgetown's made a jump. They're getting better, right? St. John, what did we say a couple of years ago? We need St. John's and Georgetown to get better. They both have. Yeah. That's not the issue. Now the issue is kind of Providence has fallen down or wrong. Seton Hall has been atrocious.
Villanova, man.
Yeah, Villanova, who had run the league and carried the league for all that time, has just fallen off a cliff now. That's
Creighton's done their part. Creighton's always in the mix. They've held on there. That's the team we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
And Villanova probably needs to win the Big East tournament for Kyle Neptune to save his job. I mean, they probably do. And I have zero faith that they can run off 4 I mean, they have a bye game to start against Seton Hall. But other than that, I just don't see it. Even though, I mean, you would take their roster over, I don't know. I mean, you take Eric Dixon over almost anybody in the league. Wooga Poplar, talent-wise, he's just been erratic throughout the course of the year. Brickus has been really good at times. They have the talent. There's no excuse. Just like I said with Diebler at Ohio State, there's no excuse that Villanova is not a tournament team. None.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my question is just the job, like big picture, like the job. I don't, in this new landscape of NIL and transfer portal,
it's a very good.
Okay,
job.
I mean, is it a top 25 jobs? Is it a top 30 jobs? Top 20? Oh yeah. Okay, I mean, give me a
15-ish. I would say 15-ish, especially with the Big East now not having to support football, so they could go really high in NIL if they want to. And they've been ahead of the game.
Football. They've never supported football. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. They don't have to. They don't have to with revenue sharing. They don't have to where other programs do moving forward.
Okay.
So that $20.5 million, where Oklahoma, for instance, has to put forth 70% of that to football minimum.
Right.
You're talking Marquette, Villanova, Xavier can all put forth 70% of that to basketball, whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
And they weren't aligned, Jeff, right? When Jay left, there was no alignment. Like, they thought they could just do it the old way, and they had no idea where the money, you got to get your money sorted out, man, because that's what it's about.
They had the money early, Steve. They had the $3 million.
Know how to
remember,
do it.
They were actually ahead. 2 years ago, they were one of the highest paid 2 years ago. And then it flattened a little bit. And the other part was, remember, it went from Jay Wright not wanting to get in the portal, and the culture changes. The advantage they had was what? Evaluating, developing the culture. You're handing it down from Archie Diacono to the next, to Brunson to
Gillespie.
It was just Gillespie. It was just one of those things where they could do that. Now it's much harder to do that. And Dixon isn't that type of leader. He's just not.
Yeah. And I'll also give a little bit of grace that when you talk about the most successful coaches that have taken, leaves, some unexpected, some not. I mean, you tell me where, and I'm talking about like Syracuse, Virginia, Villanova. None of these situations, have necessarily, bounced back. So again, I agree that the move is the move, and you got to do something to get people re-engaged again. But it's not like we have a ton of success to go off of with situations like that. Jerel, as a product of the Big East, does it hurt you to see this used to be the league? I mean, it used to be in college basketball. And look, I know the tournament's going to be absolutely electrifying. I know it's going to be awesome, but it's just it's not what it once was.
Yeah, and both of these guys kind of spoke to it. It's that bottom half or that last 5 or 6 teams right now that are really struggling. And to be honest with you, it's been for different reasons. But they hit it on the head with the Villanova. Like when Jay Wright was at Villanova, like they said, they for the better part dominated the conference. Like we need Villanova to be really good. Just for nostalgia purposes and as far as program statures, you need Georgetown to be good with the transition that came since I've played there, because when I was there, they had Syracuse, we had Georgetown, we had Pitt, we had West Virginia, we had Notre Dame. It was just a different conference as far as the magnitude of programs and things like that. And I think they've done a good job going primarily with the basketball schools, but we got to find a way. They got to give Shaheen Holloway some help at Seton Hall, and I know we probably said that probably too much this year.
They'll have money.
Georgetown.
They're going to have money next year.
Georgetown is turning the corner. They're getting better and better, and I got full confidence that Ed Cooley get that program back running and things like that. But
Villanova hire
programs
Jerel. It's going to be the Villanova hire.
It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And then, even with Providence, like Providence is an amazing fan base when it's, just the right vibe and those guys are winning games and they're competitive. And obviously I know they got decent resources as well too. So it's about figuring it out. I also don't think you can completely rule out some type of expansion. I know it's been thrown out a little bit. I know Coach Pitino has, he's kind of been dying on that hill about it. Like, man, let's go get some more teams and make a super basketball conference, which I don't think is necessarily the perfect way to go, but I don't think he's wrong. I think if you add, I don't necessarily think you got to go to a point where you got the 16 team or a 20 team conference, but if you add the right couple of teams, I think it could really be beneficial going forward.
By the way, Jeff, that's my new favorite thing in college basketball, right? Like, coach has an underperforming year, and the athletic department's like, all right, we're gonna bring him back, but we're gonna give him more resources. That's my new favorite thing. So, it's not like, especially like if the coach is good, you should do that. But I'm gonna throw this at you, and maybe you can help us draft the statement. Indiana basketball, we're bringing back Mike Woodson, and we're giving him more resources this year. I mean, why not? Why not? It's working for a lot of other teams.
That's what they did last year. I thought you were rewinding to last April, because that's exactly what they did last year, if you remember. It was, we're going to bring him back. They made a statement. Then they gave him $5.2 million. And, I mean, he's in the tournament, just like John Calipari's in the tournament with $7 million or so. But, like, is that good enough for either one of them? Kansas State's not even in the tournament. They had about $7 million.
Oh.
Those three were top 5 in the country in NIL. One of them's not going to be there. The other two are barely scraping in. What does that tell you?
I know what it tells me what Nick Saban told me, Jeff. You pay the wrong guys and you're shit out of luck. That's it. That is it to a T, man. It's so true.
Yeah, like I think I could never be an ambassador. I can never be a booster, because if I let's just say that I wrote a $250,000 check to Memphis, and they dropped $2 million on. I'm just gonna use this guy's name. Great Osabor, okay? And you don't make the tournament, and you don't even make your conference.
You want
tournament.
your money back. You're going for your money back, aren't you?
Don't fucking call me ever again. Don't text me. Matter of fact, lose my number. It's over. It's over. Don't call me again, because I saw what happened when I gave y'all money. That's what y'all went out there and did. Lose my number, man. Call the next guy.
And you know what I would say to you? You know what I would say to you? You're the dumbass who gave him the $250 in the first place.
Y'all told me y'all were going to build a contender, man. That's what y'all told me.
And you
I do think it's like, I've always wondered about, I've always said this, like, when NIL became a thing, is it a bubble? Because of that very thing, right? Because our boosters and ambassadors, maybe for some schools, the money never runs out, obviously. But, for some it does. And I just wonder, is there going to be a critical mass where, this group says, listen, we've given you so much money and you've done absolutely nothing. But maybe they have so much they don't care. But I don't know. Is there any thought to that, Goodman, that it could be, for some school out there, they could just be fed up to where they just don't want it. Those boosters don't want to do it anymore.
Well, I think the big thing now is the ADs used to make the decisions on hiring and keeping guys. And I just talked to one AD the other day, and he said to me, he's like, I want to keep my guy. Like, I want to give him another year. However, if my money people and my boosters say they're not going to give me any money, what choice do I have? I got to make a move. So I can tell you right now, I'm keeping him. But it's not ultimately my decision. It's the boosters. It's the big money guys. They're the ones now that control when you hire and when you fire somebody.
Yeah, I mean, that's the world we live in,
Jeff, what's the percentage chance Woodson's back in Indiana?
0. There's a written contract. There's some agreement in there.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any. I mean, I guess if he goes to the Final Four, if he went to the Final Four, but I think.
But what do you mean? There's a written. What do you mean? Like, what do you? There's a written contract.
There's obviously an agreement. There's a legal agreement signed by Mike Woodson that he's going to step down at the end of the year, and he's going to get $1 million a year for the next 8 years, and that's the deal that they make.
But he still hasn't acknowledged it.
Sort of, not really, a little bit after a post game, but not really to the point where he's like, yeah, I mean, he said it. You heard him after the last game, post game, say, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't retire or step down. Maybe I shouldn't have. And I mean, I'm sure he didn't want to. Let's face it, this wasn't. It sort of was his decision, but it really wasn't.
So what's that list?
What's the list?
It's dwindling. It's dwindling, Steve.
It is. So here's what it is.
I got a name if it's a possibility.
Okay. All right. You throw it out. TJ Otzelberger's out. I don't think they want Mick Cronin. I don't think they want Buzz Williams. Scott Drew, no, not in the mix. We know Brad Stevens is out. Dusty May's out. Greg McDermott was down the list to start out because he's 60 years old. I think the two names to watch, probably, unless McDermott moves back up, are Brad Brunell and Ben McCullum. I think those are the two guys that it's going to end up being one of those two at the end of the day.
So no way a guy from a ranked SEC school would go there.
You mean Chris Beard?
No.
You mean John Calipari?
Mr. Gates.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Dennis
Yeah.
Gates got a big buyout. His buyout's still like $15 million. They're not
That would
paying
be the call I would make.
Yeah, they're not paying that for Dennis Gates.
I like that one.
I
It's
think
too much
he is
money.
tremendous.
It's just too much money.
So what,
they're not going to pay that.
So Missouri did that on purpose, and the other schools don't have it?
It was the previous AD. The previous AD who left for Arizona, Desiree. She left for Arizona now. She's the one who gave him all that guaranteed money. He took it. Smart. He had 1 year. He had 1 year, and he got guaranteed like $25 million at that time. So good for him. He said, I'm not moving anyway. I'm going to take all this guaranteed money. And now that's the crazy part of TJ. TJ had a deal a year ago, like $15 million in guaranteed money, and they renegotiated. And he's so close with his AD. They're so tight that his AD almost felt bad. And his AD with Jamie Pollard was like, I'm going to have the deal is going to be, I'm going to give you all the guaranteed money still, but the buyout's going to be $4 million. $4 million. That's it. So he could move if he wants to, but he loves it there. Loves it.
Man, when you said Brunell, I'm like, obviously I was just like glazing him 30 minutes ago. But that's that's Clemson, right? That's Clemson basketball. It's different. I feel like if he ended up being the hire at Indiana, there would be like a revolt. They would protest that on campus.
I mean, who else would you guys, Jerel, you got a name? Anybody else that you guys can think of? I really
Richard.
I think you ran over my two, Jeff. I had McDermott, obviously, I thought would be a great candidate, but the age thing makes sense. Starting over, and then Beard as well too. I'm not sure what his situation is, but the optics may not happen. Just
what's
the PR.
What's the big
PR
problem about being 60? What's the big deal about 60 years old? Who cares? If he's got the energy.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I do.
I would hire him because in today's day and age, you're not hiring somebody for 10 years, right? You
100%.
just want somebody that's going to give you at Indiana. Give me 3 good years, and then I'll find the next
stability.
Right. Give me 3. Let me take it from like Woodson took it up a notch from Archie Miller, what he had done, and now let's be nationally relevant because we really haven't been over the last few years. We've had pockets if we're Indiana, but not any sustainability.
Yeah, I think that's that's just not the world we live in anymore. We don't live in the world of lifers in college coaching. I mean, there's no loyalty on either side of that coin. So I wouldn't paralyze myself as an athletic department saying, well, what if we only get 6 years out of him? So what? Like if he what if he wins 28 games a year and wins the Big Ten 4 out of those? I mean, he's definitely the best fit, the best coach of guys that you haven't already dismissed, right?
Would he take it? I'm not sure.
That you would know more than that on me. I feel like why would you leave your situation at Creighton to do that would be where I'm at with it. I assume he's comfortable there.
He is, and he can do whatever he wants in that city in Omaha. But again, can you win a national title at Creighton? Harder to do than it is at Indiana. If you hit it right, you're a god at Indiana forever. If you hit it right. Take a shot. Take a shot.
Who was the last guy? I mean, Mike Davis hit it right. You guys ran him out of town.
Yeah, he did. He hit it right for a year. He did.
You know, so what does it mean even to hit it right? I think that's part of the reason why, well, TJ doesn't want it, and he doesn't want it, and he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. That's part of the deterrent. Is that
what about Penny? What about Penny, Memphis guy?
Well, I think he's comfortable too, man. He's figured it out, you know?
Right. He's not leaving now. I mean, how do you leave your alma mater? You can't for anywhere other than the NBA. Now, it'll be interesting now because a few years ago, I mean, he put it out there that the NBA, who was it, Orlando? That
it was the Magic,
I don't think there was any real interest from Orlando at that point. But I think now, after this year, especially if he does something in the NCAA tournament, then you could see Penny as a viable NBA candidate.
No question.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. The Grizzlies probably going to open. Like, that's probably going to happen. And I'm not, like, at all trying to connect those two here. I haven't heard anything like that. I haven't. So I'm not – so don't mistake what I'm saying. But I think he'd be interested in it. And it would be interesting if he could get Ja, you know, to kind of push that. Like, would Ja be a facilitator of that? Would he say, hey, you know, and this is a guy that wields the power now in Memphis, I want Penny as my coach. I think Penny would be a very good NBA coach because he's got that persona. He's got that personality.
I agree with you. I think he
doesn't want to,
NBA
like, have to chase you to class, you know? He wants to coach. You have a job to do, and I'm your coach. So I actually think, Steve, it looks like you agree with that.
I don't doubt Penny in anything he does, man. I really don't. I mean, it looked pretty bad there. Seriously. I mean, growing up, you know, as a player, what he's done, how bad it was, you know, at the beginning with the ineligibility issues that he just dealt with. That's a tough thing to do at your alma mater. And then, you know, you would know better than I, but the expectations this year coming in, and then they go to Maui. It's like, whoa, have you guys seen Memphis? You know, and you got a chance for a big season here, man. I will never doubt Penny. I think he's a tremendous guy, and obviously he's a tremendous coach. And another thing that's important, kids resonate to him, man. They respond. No doubt. And it's really, really cool.
But he's got to win in the tournament. Steve, he's got to win 2 games. To me, you got to win 2 games in the tournament to make everybody feel really good about you. If you lose in the first round, it's kind of all for naught. If you win a game, it's okay. We had a really good regular season. We won a game. We're feeling better. If you win 2, it's like, all right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, the problem is I don't think he should be, but it sounds like they're on that 8-9 too, which I think is
It'll be hard to get off that. It'll be hard to get off that for them.
Tough.
No matter who you beat.
But the question is, like, why are they on it to begin with? I mean, they lost 2 games in their league. They beat Clemson at Clemson. Duke couldn't even do that.
They should be a 5 or 6. They should be like a 6.
Absolutely.
Right.
Brutal.
Maybe a 7 at worst. At worst, the 7.
I agree. But, you know, it's funny about Memphis, and you mentioned, like, having a win for him, Jeff, and while we're just on the subject waiting for Mark Few, I'm already getting calls about PJ Haggerty and, like, where he's going to play basketball next season. Right? Like, he's a guy, I know we didn't have him on our first 3 teams, but there's a good chance, like, he could be a 3rd-team All-American somewhere. He's averaging over 20 points a game. His percentages from 3 are really good, Jerel. Like, I wonder if a Sweet 16 run could engage the fan base again, and the residuals with NIL could it matter? Could it matter to keeping a guy like PJ Haggerty?
Yeah, and another point, in, you know, not to, in your words, glaze Penny too much, John, but I think just he has forward thinking, and I seen a statement the other day, or just like something on the internet the other day. I'm pretty sure that it came from him, but he was just talking about being able to retain, and he was specifically talking about PJ Haggerty, just saying that you know, he's gonna probably get some insane number amounts that's going to be hard to match if they want to be able to build out another competitive roster to make a deep run. But he also just really spoke to the fan base, obviously the city of Memphis, just talking about, showing him the love just in the community to kind of keep a kid like that and make him fall in love, where he's at. So maybe he will take a little bit less money to stay and had a familiarity with a great head coach, a former pro as a head coach, a great basketball city, great city in
They
general.
got FedEx money.
Jerel,
they got unlimited money there. Unlimited money from FedEx and
It's
John
not
Wall.
unlimited. It's not unlimited. It's not unlimited. You know that.
I was about to say, where would you rank them, Jeff, as far as NIL budgets? Because I know they got the FedEx money, but from what I've heard, is probably still not. I don't know. Is it top 10, top 15?
No, probably 10 to 20. But in their league, it's like I don't even know who's second. UAB.
They had about $4.5 million this year. That's what they had.
Oh, that
which
puts
is good.
If they have
that's good.
that'll put them top 10-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But guess what? Yeah. Everybody's going to have a lot more than that next year. That's the
I was
problem.
going to say 4.5 is not going to be top 20 next year, Jeff.
It's not.
Not even top 25.
It depends. There's going to be rampant cheating again next year, guys. That's the problem. It's going to go right back to
that possible? How can you cheat in 2025?
Because they're going to cap you. You're going to be capped with your revenue sharing. And then the third-party stuff, we don't know how that's going to work. So all it means is the cheaters are going to be back out in full force.
Yeah, and I've heard that as well too, and I've got just like even some guys that are doing deals now to retain guys before the revenue sharing stuff kicks in. So
they're all doing that.
I guess yeah, I'm about to say I guess everybody will be just creative in how they spread it around and put some money in these guys' pockets as well.
Yeah, which again is I know most people for it's an adjustment and it is hard because even a guy like PJ Haggerty, Memphis can pay him, but they can't pay him what some of these other schools can pay him, and so it's like
they can get pretty close. They can get pretty close.
I heard yesterday, and again it's just a he say she say conversation, but I heard the gap could be pretty big for now. I mean Penny's got to keep making the pleas, man.
Think about it. Marquette, if they want to. If Marquette wants to, they could pay $10 million in revenue sharing. They're getting 20.5. They could use half of that for about. They're not going to, but they could.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the interesting piece of it while we wait for Mark Few here is like, will any new powers emerge from this, or will some schools that we kind of consider to be, I don't know what's go as far as say powers, but like a Florida State to me is a really interesting case because revenue shares coming.
They won't. No.
They're going to fade back, aren't they? They're going to fade back. They're going to spend their money on football.
They're going all in football. But the power that we're going to see is like a Texas Tech. We've already started to see it. They're the one that to me could sustain this at the high
BYU.
BYU will sustain it. No
They
doubt.
started.
Obviously, we know what they're paying AJ Monson next year. He's going to make more than he might be making Van Pelt money next year.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Steve. Steve's like, how much Steve's making? How much is Scott making? How much is AJ making? Yeah, they're not far off, right? Close.
I don't doubt any of these college kids, man. This is the time. If you got a chance to get it, right, Jerel? Go get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jerel, we started talking about. Okay, he's back. He's with us. I thought we started talking about NIL, and you had to take a moment because you didn't get that back in your day.
I cry a couple tears every night, John. I'm thinking about going to lawyer up and do some of these, try to get some of this back pay like some of these other guys are doing.
You do get something, right, as a result, don't you, or no?
I think I'm too far. It's like a threshold on it as far as like they can't go all the way back. Like, you know what I mean? So I think like the cutoff is well before my time. But Marquette treats me. They continue to treat me good. I'll stay honest and just say it was all for the love of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Jerel gets free meals when he goes back. I mean, come on, like that's plenty.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
they treat me well, man. So it's all worth it.
Absolutely right. By the way, Stanford Steve is you're a grinder, man. I was not familiar with you are an absolute grinder here on Field of 68 tonight.
I'm usually watching or listening to you guys. I can't go to bed.
This doesn't change what he does.
Yeah.
This doesn't
I'm always
change
up
his
listening to you.
one bit.
3:30 in the morning. I'm up. I'm listening.
Awesome. Yeah.
He can sleep in. John, he doesn't have to get up with the kids. He just sleeps in.
Oh, yeah, I do. Tomorrow I do. That's fine, though. I could go back to bed.
There you go.
Yeah, but you got to make an appearance. You got to make the cameo. Hey, I'm here. I made it. We're here. It's the morning. Yeah, my kid wakes me up every day at 6 a.m. So I just get used to it. You get used to it, Steve. It's just you become numb. It's conditioning. That's how I look at it, man. That's how I look at it for sure. All right, real quick, hoping to be joined by Mark Few. Let's just kind of circle back to Gonzaga because we had a lot of different things to hit. They did win tonight against St. Mary's. Finally got their revenge, 58-51. It looked like Jeff, that was going to be a game where Gonzaga just blew their doors off. Right at the beginning of that game, they came out like gangbusters. And to St. Mary's credit, and maybe this is something, Steve, that we'll just kind of like put in our back pocket for the tournament with this St. Mary's team. But they did fight back. They got it to 2 at the at halftime, and Gonzaga did ultimately win 58-51. But Jeff, if there were any questions about Gonzaga, and I assume there still are, what did this week say about the Bulldogs and the Zags here?
I mean, it put him back in the map. I think it put him back in the national map where they've kind of, been in the backdrop for the most part for a lot of conference season. And, they didn't do what they normally do in non-conference. And I think that, again, that if they had won that Kentucky game, I think it would have been different. I do. I think it would have been a lot different. But they just didn't have the resume wins that they usually have. And I still think this team can be dangerous. I can't wait to ask you here how dangerous and whether he thinks now that he has the confidence in this team that they can make a run.
Yeah. And I think, again, that's the, because you look at them, I mean, it's not like they're lacking in the talent part of it. I mean, that's out there to see.
I also think the best thing that happened to Gonzaga was getting punched in the face in the first half last night against San Francisco. Like they came out and they were heavily favored, and San Francisco doesn't have their best player, but they came out in the first half and they responded in a big way. And I feel like they found some. They were running on all cylinders last night, and that got them going. And that's what I feel like Coach is definitely going to be confident now, because then you do that, then you know what's up next. But I felt like last night they really, really responded well.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve. I came away like, man, respect to the Dons for fighting in that game, because they really, they had every reason to lay down without their second leading scorer and their best 3-point shooter. Yeah, and they didn't. They were down 1 with 7 to play. That was impressive. I know they're not going to the tournament, like that stinks, but I thought they showed very well in the loss last night.
Yeah, and they haven't beat them in like a decade. They can't do it. Like, I think I forgot what Farnham said the number was.
32 times in a row, right?
Oh,
it was like something like that. 32 or 33 times. Brutal. That's hard.
That's brutal.
It was. But again, to Gonzaga's point, to go in the locker room and regroup, I think that's some good stuff.
Did you ever, Jerel, did you ever just absolutely own a team like that in your time at Marquette, where they just could not beat you no matter what?
And this was obviously a long time ago. Never lost to St. John's. They were pretty bad in the first alignment of the new Big East. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever lost to Seton Hall. St. John's, Seton Hall. Providence might have been in there. I don't think I lost to Providence. Don't think I lost. I lost once to Rutgers, and that was my freshman year at the Rack. Snowstorm in Piscataway. And Quincy Doobie was on that team. Jeff will remember that. And Steve, I'm sure you guys remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute flamethrower. My God, it got so loud when that dude got going that night. And obviously, I was a freshman, and I got all the toughest assignments. So that wasn't a lot of fun, but that was the only time I ever lost to him. So I ran the table on him after that.
But nobody, 33 straight times? That's the
Nah.
Yeah, we've got Mark Few here. We'll get him here momentarily. Obviously, as Stanford Steve pointed out, that win jumps them up a seed line, according to Joe Lenard, from an 8 to a 7. And without further ado, he is the man of the hour. Mark Few, head coach, Gonzaga Bulldogs. They are the West Coast Conference Tournament champions. He joins us now. Coach Few, congratulations on another win here. I know that this is not necessarily new for you in this tournament, but I would ask you, knowing sort of how these regular season meetings went against St. Mary's, did this one mean a little bit more considering all of that?
Okay, well, let's get going on this interview. What the hell is the legend Stanford Steve doing on this thing? Wow. It's just changed the whole thing here.
We'll get to that when it's my question. Don't worry, Coach.
Wow. Okay. No, hey, listen. St. Mary's has become an incredible program. You know, Randy's done an amazing job down there. They have great culture. They are just a tough out. They're one of the most physical teams in all of college basketball. And as I tell my team and coaching staff and everybody that listens, they're incredibly purposeful with everything that they do, and you have to go out and beat them. And you know, we were lucky enough to turn them over 18 times, which is very unusual for St. Mary's, and I think that was the difference tonight.
Hey, Fewy, if I had told you you'd go 1 for 15 from 3 tonight before the game, what would you have told me the score would have been?
Wow, I would have said probably St. Mary's by 8 or something. I mean, now they can do that to you, Jeff. They do that to a lot of people. And the reason they can do that is they have Saxon and Barcelona, so they can play 2-on-2 with your ball screen and kind of lock in on all your shooters. And those two are as good at guarding ball screens as there is. But you know what? I think that's a huge stat. You're so right. And but the fact that we had them go 0 for 16 from 3, I think
exactly.
You know,
who would have ever thought a Gonzaga St. Mary's game would feature that crappy 3-point shooting ever?
I hear you. And there weren't a whole lot of good looks tonight, but you know, some of their guys had some very good looks, and they have some very good shooters in Mikey Lewis and Morauskas. And then, you know, Nolan had a couple good looks, and Nolan's been shooting the cover off it for us. But, you know, that's kind of one of those grinder games, man. I mean, as much as I try to get this frickin' pace going against them and get it going up and down and kind of a stag style of basketball, it takes 2 to tango. And so you gotta win. You gotta be able to win games like this. As you guys know, in the NCAA tournament, there's a variety of styles, and we've made a huge jump here down the stretch. So I like where we are, and I think we're, like we usually do, gearing up for March here.
Coach, congrats again. I got a bit of an individual question just about, because it's you got a kid that had a pretty good game tonight on your team. I'm a Chicago guy, so I got a chance to not only can play against and coach against Braden Huff, but you know, just see his progression as well too. And I just remember when he committed, I thought, man, after seeing him play, what a perfect spot and program to be in. But could you just talk a little bit about you know, what he brings to this team and his progression as a player, because he gets better every time I see him.
Yeah, it's a great call, and thanks for bringing that up. You know, people ask why we started him tonight and rolled the dice. Like, we started him tonight because we knew we had a great matchup, and like, whatever, you guys got to help me out. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result or something. And we got off to 2 really bad starts. And I'm just like, hey, we're going to go with B Huff. That gives us a good matchup against, who they start. And he did. He was big. He was big in the biggest moments. We started the game with him and we closed the game with him. And he delivered. And so happy for him. I'm proud of him. And that wasn't maybe necessarily the case when we played them earlier. I mean, they bring a brand of physicality, guys, I'm telling you, that's going to give teams in this tournament fits. And when they put Saxon and Wessels out there, I mean, he's a giant. And they just duck you in down there, and the ball goes up on the rim. And listen, Houston is a terrific rebounding team, and they do that their way with athleticism and effort. St. Mary's is every bit as good as Houston on the glass, and they do it with just size and sumo wrestling. Really, that's what it is down there. And it's really hard to prepare your team for that if you don't have guys like that on your roster.
Coach, I traded text with Barrett today, knowing our annual meeting with you and SVP is usually tonight after you win another championship, but Scott's on vacation, so I had to come here to actually get a question in with you. I mentioned earlier tonight, I thought the best thing that happened to you guys last night was getting punched in the first half last night against San Francisco. The way you guys responded and played great in the second half, I thought was tremendous. I absolutely love how well you shoot free throws, even though Khalif missed 2 in the last 2 nights. That is going to, you hanging around in games, which you have done all year, that's a big benefit. But the biggest question I have for you, I can't believe I'm asking a human being this, but does going to Vegas ever get old?
And I've spent some long stints down here with USA Basketball now. I'm telling you what. In both instances,
I've played blackjack with you before. You and I and Mel Gibson have done a little,
and the greatest thing we did, I don't want to bore you guys, but as a staff, is after about 7 days, Steve came up with the idea. It was like, hey, you guys want to go off the strip? And we found some dive Mexican restaurant way off the strip. And I'm telling you guys, it was the first year we did it as a staff. We were just getting to know each other. And the fact that all of us were like, God, this is the greatest night we've ever had, getting off the strip and just go. Nobody knew who we were. We were in this place. It was Grant Hill, Steve Kerr, Ty Lue, Eric Spoelstra. Nobody knows who I am when I'm with those guys. But it was awesome. And so to your point, like, it's great to be in Vegas, but it can kind of grind on you in a while.
No doubt.
Steve. But the cool thing is, like, we have a fan base that really, 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 really travels and makes this tournament really, really cool for our guys to play in. And they showed up huge again this year. You walk out there, and they're even as many times I've done it, I still kind of pinch myself and go, wow, I can't believe this many people came down here to see us. And I mean, I think it's very much like what you see at the Big 12 with Kansas and Iowa State.
Hey, Fury, I got one more before we let you go. So bring your pickleball paddle to San Antonio, okay? It's going to be, if you're not playing and Scott Drew is not playing in the Final Four, it's me and you versus Hummel and Scott Drew down there, okay? And we're going to kick Hummel's ass.
Why would that be? Why should that be a problem? Yeah.
I mean,
why does Fury have to play with you?
Hey, but Scott's my partner, man. We were in the Speakeasy pickleball league.
No, I'm not taking Hummel on as a partner. There's no way. There'll be team dissension.
I don't know if Scott and I were undefeated, and I think we're over the whatever the term limit or whatever that I could admit. Like, we were all gathering together and playing pickleball and drinking beer during COVID rules at the Final Four of 2021.
Oh, I heard about this. I heard about the rules being broken.
I think we're safe now.
I think you're fine now. I got one more thing for you. A beer. I don't know if you've had this beer before. It's called Mango Cart. Mango Cart. You got to try it. Really
You're
good.
all
Really good.
fluffy and fluffy to me.
It's a little girly. It's a little fruity and girly, but it fits me. All right, I like it.
Not
I
my
like it.
jam.
You're not
Not surprised that it fits you, but not my jam.
Awesome. Well, Coach Few, man, we appreciate the time. Congrats on the title tonight, and we'll see you down the road, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, guys. Fun seeing
Thanks,
y'all.
Mark. Congrats, man.
Thanks, Coach.
He is Mark Few, Gonzaga basketball coach. Great stuff. Great stuff.
This is
is that about it?
This is a record show, by the way.
I was just going to ask that.
We've never done it. And actually, the beauty of this show, guys, and I'm going to say this to everybody now. When I do an hour and a half with Rob Doster on a Saturday, it feels like 3. Tonight, we did 2 hours, and it feels like an hour. I mean, this thing has flown by. It's been fun. John Martin has actually been a really good host tonight. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you've been tremendous. Jerel's always good. And Steve, you brought a breath of fresh air to the show. So you will be invited back whenever you want.
You got it. I got one for you on the way out, Goodman. I didn't have the guts to ask him. How much longer is Coach Few the head coach of Gonzaga?
It's a great question. I asked him that in the preseason. Yeah, I hit him with it in the preseason. I did.
Okay.
But it was literally, I interviewed Few, like Tony Bennett retired. I broke it. I came back. It was at WCC Media Day. I came back, and we had an interview with Mark Few as Tony Bennett. I hit the button, and then I asked him. It was perfect segue because I said, I'm like, Tony Bennett just retired. How much longer I think you're next? And he said, I don't know. I mean, I say it could be any time for Few. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it's this year. It wouldn't shock me if it's next year. I don't think it'll be more than 2 or 3.
It's just something about these lower seeded Gonzaga teams that scare me even more too. It's just the success he's had, man. It's awesome. It's incredible what he's done.
Well, fellas, this has been a blast. Appreciate everybody that stuck with us tonight here on a basically 2-hour broadcast. Goodman and Jerel too. It's getting us ready for the all-day broadcast during the first and second rounds of the tournament. So
prepping
from Vegas. Yeah, not bad. Not bad practice. So for Jeff Goodman, for Jerel McNeal, for Stanford Steve, I'm John Martin. Thanks for hanging with us here on Field of 68 After Dark. Have a great night.